Hello and welcome to the Happy Little Futures podcast. Before we begin, I want you all to take a deep breath for yourself. So breathe in and out. And that is for you. So, it's been a few weeks since I put a podcast out. I've had a lot going on in my mind as much as physically. We started off the term, didn't we, last time we spoke? So we were a couple of weeks into the term last time we spoke, and my eldest was struggling to go in. She still struggles with going into school, but sorry, the dog's just joining me. So she's still struggling with going into school, but I know that she's happy when she's there. I know that she's enjoying herself and she's got friends that she likes playing with and that her teacher is lovely. So I know she's well supported. However, I did not feel all of this a few weeks ago. I was just as anxious as she was. She was going in okay. Well, she wasn't going in okay, but I knew that she was okay, but my anxiety once I'd left her every day would flare up somewhat, and I had all these, I should be homeschooling, I should be doing this feelings and all of that sort of stuff. Then the guilt of thinking of taking them away from their friends, and let's not scratch ourselves right now, Poppet. So the guilt of them being taken away from their friends if I was to do that, and the environment and the structure that they got, the fact that I know from my own experience that I would not necessarily be able to provide that structure. So I was feeling a lot of guilt about considering that, and I sort of went on a bit of a journey, guys, a bit of a journey through this anxiety, and I was struggling with my fibromyalgia. I was struggling because that was out of control. My sleep was all to pot. Everything was crazy, and I needed to get myself regrounded. And in amongst all of this, in my head, I was going, I should record a podcast. I need to record a podcast. I should be recording a podcast. I should be doing this for work. I haven't put much on social media. I haven't done much of this recently. And I have learnt over the past few years, through a lot of practice and a lot of hard work, I will be honest with you, I've learned self-compassion. And in those moments where I've been struggling with all of these, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should be putting on social media, I should be doing podcasts and all of that, I've learned to turn around to myself and go, do I need to do the podcast right now? This pooch is having a great time cleaning herself right next to me, so I apologise for that. Do I need to do the podcast right now? Do I need to post on social media right now? And more often than not, the answer has been no. No, I don't need to do those things right now. What I need to do right now is I need to sit down. I need to mentally and physically, that went a bit funny in the middle of that, physically recoup myself for being with the kids. I need to recoup myself for being present for the kids. I need to create an environment at home in which I don't feel flustered and stressed and anxious, so that when the kids are home, we can enjoy the time that we have together, so that when the kids are at home, I can relax with them and I can teach them how to relax. And it's been a bit of a hard journey recently, but throughout it, I've kept thinking to myself, actually, by not doing the podcast, what I'm doing is I'm slowing down. I'm being mindful of what I'm feeling. I'm aware of what I am feeling, how I am feeling, what my body and my mind require in this moment. And I'm actually practicing what I preach. So I am actually sitting there and going, I remember saying to my husband, I need to record a podcast, but I don't have it in me to record a podcast right now. And then I said, But by not recording the podcast, actually I'm doing what I want to tell people to do and teach people that they can do for themselves in life in general, by not pushing yourself when you don't need to, and by having some self-compassion and sitting there. And I said to him, I'm run off my feet. I've been struggling with this transition from reception to year one. I've been struggling with not thinking that they're happy going into school. I've been struggling with thinking that I'm losing them to the system. I've been struggling with trying to sort out our environment and not having an environment that I feel completely comfortable and happy in. I've been struggling with the anxiety around all of these things. We've had money worries because we've had to get the gutters done, which, oh my days, guys, it rained for the first time, like properly rained for the first time a couple of days ago. Since we had the gutters done, I had to pause the TV to stop and go, what's that noise? And I was like, oh my goodness, it's raining, like proper raining. And since moving into this house 2 years ago, I haven't heard quiet rain. And I didn't know that I hadn't heard quiet rain, or at least the normal rain that most people would hear in their house. I didn't know that I'd not heard that. And it was just the bizarrest thing. Like, we've had the back of the house, we've got a lean-to on the back, so it's like a little plastic roof. It's not very good, but it keeps some bits dry. And what's been happening is the gutter above that has been broken, and then the rain's been going into it and like pouring out onto the lean-to, and then pouring and cascading down the back of the roof because it's not been sealed properly, and along the window, along the wall, and along the kitchen window. Which more often than not at those particular moments has been open because it's actually been hot, or it's been we've been trying to get rid of the steam from cooking or something like that. And I was just absolutely gobsmacked that it was so quiet, because it sounded like we'd been living in a tent for the past few years because of that. You know, if you've been in a tent or a greenhouse or something like that when it's really, really raining and you can hear the hammering, and I love that sound. But having that every single time there's rain with then a waterfall in the background, when you know that what that's actually doing is creating damp in your house and slowly wearing down the walls on the outside and breaking down the seal on the windows and stuff like that, it's actually quite anxiety inducing, guys. So that nice relaxing rain sound that I love has actually been a trigger, which I didn't realise has been a trigger for my anxiety all this time. So it's wonderful now that we've got the gutter done and all of that stuff. But the stress leading up to it, not knowing when it was going to be done, not knowing if we'd found someone that was actually going to do it because we kept getting ghosted, and then trying to sort of draw all the money in and go, have we got the right amount of money right now to pay for this and then pay for the bills and all of that sort of stuff? That was quite stressful. So my point being, all of these different things piling on top of each other, sort of really starting to like ground down. It's been exhausting. It has been truly exhausting, and taking that moment to actually recognise that, yeah, I am exhausted, I'm mentally drained, I feel like I need to go sit in a forest and just be one with nature for a few hours, if not weeks, on my own. That's been hard. And sometimes, quite often, especially before I started really learning about how to practice self-compassion, I had this internal dialogue. I would sit down and I would be exhausted. I would struggle to get up. I would have, if you've struggled with anxiety or depression or anything like that, you'll know that actually, or even ADHD, I've heard it's the same for ADHD, and I sometimes think that I've got ADHD, for a variety of other reasons. But all of those different things, you can sit down and you can not physically get up. You can sit there and be willing your legs to get up and do something, and you just can't. And there's always been this internal dialogue of, stop being lazy, come on, you've got to get up and do it, it needs doing now, you're being lazy and stuff like that. And I haven't been lazy, guys. I have been doing what I've needed to do, and I've naturally been taking this time out to recoup my body, to recoup my mind, to help support my family and be present for my kids. And it's hard to sometimes have that clarity of mind to flip something on its head like that. It's hard sometimes to step back and go, what do I actually need in this moment? And what I need is a cup of tea with 2 sugars and a dash of milk, and to just sit and like be warm with that. And it's hard to step back and view yourself as you might view a friend. A good friend of mine recently sat there and went, you know what, Lucy, you've had a lot going on recently. Like, this acknowledged all these different things that I've had going on. And she said, you need to take a step back. You need to take some time. And I was like, and I thanked her and I said, thank you, because I've been telling myself this, I've been acknowledging this, and I've been having this sort of internal dialogue of my own where I've had I feel lazy, I'm being lazy, and then I've flipped it on its head and gone, no, you're exhausted, you're anxious, you're stressed, you've got this going on, this going on, this going on, you need to rest. And it was really, really clarifying and grounding to have her sit there and go and talk to me as like, when you hear people talk about self-compassion, they say, what would you say to your friend? What would you say if it was me going through it? And you go, well, I say this, and I'm sure I've said in the past that's never worked for me, because I'm like, it doesn't matter what I'd say to you, this is me that we're talking about. But to have a friend actually sit there and give the dialogue that I've been giving myself in my head, and giving me that compassion and sort of almost permission to do what I've been doing, to practice what I've been practicing, was really, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, essentially. So I suppose really what I'm trying to say to you is, whenever you are snapping at your kids, whenever you are feeling cloudy in your head, or like the red mist is descending, or whatever you say, you feel like you're going to flip your lid, all of those sorts of things, if you can recognize in that moment actually what you're going through, actually what some of the things that your mind and your body have been going through that could have led to that, it can be very freeing. I'm not saying it's easy to do that. I'm definitely saying the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. A lot like meditation. But it's a snoring dog. It's something that can really help you to slow down and to notice what you need, and to be forgiving of the fact that you are human, and in that moment you don't need to do the vacuuming. You need to sit down and put your feet up and have a cuddle with your kids and watch Bluey for the 70,000th time. Or Spidey. Spidey is driving me mad at the moment. I prefer a nice slow Bluey episode to some of the faster paced animated things. I digress. So what I'm saying is, yes, try and speak to yourself like you would speak to a friend, like my friend spoke to me, which was like, it was very eye-opening to have that same dialogue that I was saying to myself, that there was still that part of me that was going, you're making excuses, but I knew deep down that actually this is what I need, and this is what's important to me. Have that self-compassion, find that little person in your head that you're speaking to, and that's how I visualize it. It's the bigger head person saying to a little Lucy in my head, who's this little voice going, you're lazy, you're this, you're that. It's the bigger head Lucy going, no, you've got this and this on. You have my permission to feel these things, and you have my permission to recover or rest or go out and have a walk with the dog on your own, or go for a run, or do a bit of self-care, or just sit with the kids and engage with those kids that you love so much and you miss so much, and try and find that little voice. Try and find your little Lucie and your big Lucie, and see if you can you can talk to them like that. So yeah, I'm hoping that this has been maybe eye-opening for some of you. Maybe it's made you go, no, I can give myself permission to sit down. I can have that cuddle with the kids and not have to rush tea. So tea ends up half an hour later than normal. You know what? The kids probably won't notice. And if they do, give them an apple before tea. Let them have pre-tea pudding or something like that. Do something like that. Make the beans on toast instead. And just be present. And give yourself that permission and that self-compassion. So on that note, we're going to finish with a nice deep breath. This is for you guys. This deep breath now. Nice and big into your stomach. This is for you. Are you ready? Breathe in with me. And release. And I will see you next time.